There we go. All right. We are now live. Thank you, everybody who may be out there tuning in, who may be tuning in at some point in the future for giving us a watch. This is session number 9 for On the Rise. This is an Egyptian-themed Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition campaign and set in my homebrew world of Rostfin. So we are joined tonight by 3 players thus far. Our 4th should hopefully be joining us here in another 10 minutes or so. Yeah, the last time that we left our heroes, they were in a little bit of hot water. So it'll be interesting to kind of pick it up where we left off and see where everything goes from there. But before we do that, there's a couple other points that I want to go over. First of which, this is the Erasmus Expeditions. That's the name of this YouTube channel. If you happen to buy on accident, I'm going to start over. If you happen to buy on accident, welcome. Hang around, watch some videos, hopefully have a good time. And if you're not new here, then welcome back. So I have the distinct pleasure of coming back with getting back with some of these players once again, and I will go ahead and let them do introductions, and maybe I can find my tongue in the meantime. Trevor, why don't you start us off?
Excellent, thank you. My name is Trevor. I am playing a gnomish druid named Rith Schwarzennomen. When we left our characters last session, he was a scorpion in the middle of a hallway, and he stands between the party and a flood of incoming undead creatures that I think the DM wants to kill us with. A little bit of background: Rith is not from the continents that he is in right now. He's from a forest on the eastern continent. I don't know all the names. I'm new to Rostfin. But there is one particular character. Her name is Alia, who Rith is acquainted with and has been lost to him for a couple years now. And he's been following a trail on a necromantic cult called the Cult of the Horned Beetle. And as an accident, ended up in Baklabesh in the first place. Not exactly heading this way, but ended up here via divine intervention, I'll say. Oh, and Rith is the note taker for people who missed session 8.
Yes, and once again, thank you very, very much for doing that, Trevor. It's very much appreciated. It certainly helped whenever I had to go to do that recap. Okay, and next, go ahead.
I'll keep doing it.
Good, I appreciate that. Hopefully, knock on wood, hopefully we won't ever need it again. I'll try to behave myself whenever I'm tampering with things that I don't know what I'm doing. So secondly, let's go with Mike.
My name is Michael. I'm playing a dwarven cleric named Noctos. I was going to say his last name, but I blanked on it, and I looked over at my notes and I didn't see it. So anyway, he is a Mahan dwarf. He is a desert-dwelling dwarf from the world of Rostfin. And they typically don't get along with other tribe members of other tribes. We just experienced dealing with another group of Mahan dwarfs that Noctos is kind of arch rival clans with. Probably would have gone differently had Noctos just not gone through a large shift, having met his god or goddess, Yabala, and is trying to just do her bidding at the moment and not necessarily what he wants and what his goals were. So he's gone through that shift, and I'm interested to see kind of where that takes us.
Excellent. And then last but certainly not least, we have Jeff.
Yes, I'm Jeff. I have a YouTube channel and Facebook page called Encounterbalance, so feel free to check that out if you're interested. And I am playing Khalid. We haven't really gotten too far into his past yet, but he is actually from the city that we're in right now, Messhiba. He left that city to wander the deserts, trying to find something else for his life beyond its walls, and has now come back to it along with the party to try to figure out what's going on here after having seen a vision of its destruction, which turned out to not be so much a vision. So we're going to figure out what's going on here. And that's basically it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. And the link for Jeff's YouTube channel is found in the description of this video down below. Definitely head over there and go check him out. I think he just ran a game last night, as a matter of fact, and I've got that queued up on my my phone. I've been listening to it, but I haven't made it very far into it yet. As we kind of hopefully stretch time out just a bit so that Sammy can get here before we actually do get started, we'll kind of go over a little bit of a recap, things of that nature. The one thing that I do want to get in now is that we are all adults, at least if you use our birthdays as a starting point. And it's an adult game. Sometimes the subject matter is going to be mature. Sometimes, who am I kidding? All the time, the language is going to be questionable. So if that kind of stuff bothers you, exit, leave. Auf Wiedersehen, goodbye. It's just going to be a thing. So do yourself the favor and exit stage left. As far as the recap goes, the party has been kind of on the trail of a cult, who they discovered was at least somewhat responsible for bringing the god of the undead, an individual, an entity named Senruferus, onto the mortal plane, in the body of an ancient pharaoh. And the party quickly dispatched him, only to find out from Yabala that it may not quite be over with, that there may be something more to the whole situation. Yabala being the goddess of water, whom Noctos follows. And they made their way back towards Messhiba with a whispered message, a vision, not only of possible trouble in Messhiba, but also that there was a task that they were going to be put to intervene in whatever it was that Senruferus, there we go. Apparently it's just going to be a thing tonight. So what that guy is up to, and try to put a stop to it if you can. She promised them that she would make them all champions, and in Noctus's case, that he would become her avatar here on the material plane. So with that in mind, they headed into Messhiba, back to the capital. And when they arrived, they found it a bloodbath. There was members of the populace kind of scattered about, haphazardly slain, their valuables left strewn in the sand. So it was a crime of senselessness. They opted to swing around the side of the city and sneak in through a smuggler's tunnel, which they did, and found themselves in the latrine of an orphanage, which is one of the stranger things that I've had a player come up with. But it worked. So up from the little shit's shitter, our party pops out and finds that they're not alone in this orphanage. And as was discussed, there's a group of Mahan dwarves that were squatting, another terrible toilet pun, in this orphanage. And they had turned one of the bedrooms into kind of a defensive position, turned some of the beds on their sides, things of that nature, and had learned that the undead that are occupying the city, whom are responsible for this massacre that has occurred, are a little different than traditional undead, in the way that they tend to spread by contact, biting or something to that nature. And these Mahan inform you, and you could see that they had had to kill several of their own. And in talking with these Mahan, the group discovered an odd offshoot of the main room that they were in. And inside of this space was none other than the hatchling of the blue dragon, known as the Glassblower, whom had recently paid them yet another visit, informing them that they had only until she found her hatchling to spend their ill-gotten gains, the treasure of her hoard that they took. So I think that pretty much covers the recap, unless you guys can think of anything else that we have missed or questions that you may have. No?
I think that covers everything.
Cool. Then we will go ahead and let Sammy introduce herself. Welcome, Sammy. You missed that part, so just in time, go ahead. Tell us who you are and what you're doing here.
I'm Sammy. I'm playing Paladin. A little late to the game today, but hoping everything goes well because we didn't end up in a great situation last time.
I am sure you guys will be just fine. But what do I know? So, without any further ado, I think we will go ahead and get back into this.
Before we get started, I just want to double check. I'm pretty sure that Khalid, your hit points are really bad. So I think one of my first actions was going to be to heal you. Is that accurate?
The hit points part being low is definitely accurate. Whether or not we'll have the action.
Perfect. Okay.
Is
yeah, like once it's my turn again, I just want to make sure that I was heading the right path.
Good memory, guys. Excellent. So yeah, the fight with the Mahan basically had just occurred when the front door of the orphanage burst open, and having been drawn to the sound of battle, this new type of undead, being referred to as the Unleashed, is now kind of pouring in through the open door. So as this is happening, and I imagine events kind of being thrown suddenly into slow motion, as Rith is the first person to realize kind of what is going on, what is his initial internal reaction? Not necessarily what action is he taking, just how is he processing this information?
Well, there's just about the time that Rith gets turned around and kills the last Magrin in the hallway, he hears the door fly open, and there's a short delay between that sound and his thought of, I'm facing the wrong way. So he has to take some time to scuttle around and reorient himself, facing back towards the entrance to the orphanage to prepare himself for whatever is about to happen.
Absolutely. And yeah, the door opened, but only in so much that it kind of just came apart under the weight of these creatures. So it didn't necessarily just swing open on its hinges, as it just kind of splintered into pieces and collapsed into the hallway on the other side. So the rest of you are inside the room, just off of the hallway where this front door enters into. But you unmistakably heard the wood of the front door splinter. So what are the three of you kind of doing to process this? What's going through your heads in this moment?
Oh, Yabala, where's my holy symbol? Gotta just say, oh crap.
And I imagine like Khalid's just completely covered in blood and the different poisons and everything that he's been hit with so far. Imagine if they finish the fight, he goes to sit down on one of the cots to try a short sliver of rest, and as he starts to like lean down to sit, is when they just hear like, crashing of the door. Punches along his face. Figure just do that.
Okay. Yeah, it's not just me. Jeff, yeah, you're cutting in and out real bad. You went all Megatron on us. So while Jeff kind of tries to see if he can get that figured out, how is Sigrid handling the situation?
I imagine she is more concerned with the actual issues happening at the front, being relatively uninjured herself, rather than with the baby dragon or even maybe her fellow injured party members. She's definitely probably scooting. She's scooting more towards the door, towards the entrance, to kind of roughly assess how screwed everybody is.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Jeff, you want to try again?
Am I better so far?
So far, so good.
All right. So, am I correct to basically none of that really got through then?
Not enough to really be processed for me, at least.
So
Fair enough. I was just basically saying that, like, imagine Khalid's just like completely covered in blood from the different slashes, everything that he's been hit with. It's just a complete mess. And right as the last dwarf falls to the ground and is dead, imagine he goes to sit on one of the cots or something that's in the room just to try to get some rest after that battle. And like right as he goes to like kneel down to sit is when the door like crashes in from the hallway. Like his heart just sinks and his face goes sour and just immediately begins to stand back up from his halfway sitting position, just with his bravest face on, but it's clear that he's in pretty rough shape.
And as the four of you brace yourselves, you essentially are going to have one round to react before they're going to be upon the first of you. And I still have the initiative order from last time. So we're just going to go ahead and stick with that. And that means that Khalid, you're up first.
So I imagine Khalid not necessarily knowing what's happened at this point, just from within the room. His first thought process would just be to try to take a look. So he would move across the room to the doorway that Rith and Sigrid had kind of been moving towards, and peek around the edge of the hall and see the collapsed door and all the creatures spilling inside. And he would kind of step back and kind of put his back to the wall right next to that doorway. He would just look over to Noctis and say, "What are we supposed to do about the hatchling?"
ask for its help. We'll get it back to its mother.
He just nods and goes into that back room that they had seen earlier that kind of caused whole conflict in the first place. And if the hatchling is tied up, which I think I remember it is, he's just going to start cutting it loose with one of his daggers.
Okay. And yes, it is absolutely bound and gagged, and it's kind of making this mewing noise. The the picture that I have currently is kind of showing the unleashed, or at least a form of them. But I will switch over to the little baby blue dragon. Everybody go ahead. Oh. All right. So you see the hatchling, who I believe is the first time that Khalid has ever seen this creature. And it kind of looks up at you, almost dazedly, as you start to cut it free. And once you have freed its bindings on around its snout, it kind of looks at you and it says, "Who are you?"
I'm the one who's trying to help. The one who doesn't want to get cooked by your mother if we don't get you out of here alive.
She does like to do that. Are you food?
Not if you want to live.
I see. What do you need?
Well, there's a horde of undead charging through the doors, and unless we can stop them, you and all of us are going to die together, so we need to figure something out.
You want me to fight?
If you can, that would be ideal.
We'll see. Very well. Sigrid, it is your turn.
So, are we still in the room and they're all out in the hallway still?
Yeah, so the room that you guys are kind of in, the only real door, aside from the strange circular opening where Khalid just went through, the only door leads into the hallway, the kind of main hallway of this building, and the front door is at the end of that hallway. So as of right now, the three of you are inside this room to the side, and except for Rith, who is out in the hallway.
Okay. Sigrid's gonna at least move between the door and Rith to see if Rith is going to come back into the room, and if not, she wants to be ready. She's really unconcerned with the dragon right now.
Sure. Okay, so yeah, being the shield maiden that you are, you kind of, put yourself between danger and, the people who may be usually less militant type combatants. So you step into the hallway, kind of gingerly stepping around this alarmingly large scorpion that you know is Rith, luckily. Otherwise, it might be difficult to turn your back on it. But you position yourself in the hallway, and if you would like, you can either just kind of come up short and just stay in the hallway, or you could actually close with the front of them.
I don't think I'm going to close yet.
Okay, you're just going to stand your ground. Then you may want to take the dodge action, just in case, or ready in action, one of the two.
What happens if I ready in action?
If you can ready in action, you can basically tell me the action that you wish to ready and its trigger. And what happens is when the trigger occurs, you get to take that action right away. Okay. So in this example, you could say, I'd like to ready an attack for when the first of them closes with me, I'm going to swing.
Okay. Well, that sounds simple enough, so we'll do that.
Okay. Yeah, and then what happens is if one of them does close with you before your next turn, then you get to go ahead and do that outside of your normal turn.
And we'll just keep it sweet and simple.
All right. Noctis.
Noctis is going to walk up right behind Sigrid And he's going to start pulling out his holy symbol and untapping the cork of his water skin. And he's going to say a prayer to Yabala. Yabala, let your water wash over us in protection and wash over them as a river and flow them out into the night. And he is going to channel divinity to turn undead and bonus action to cast Shield of Faith on Secret.
Excellent. Okay. So what do you need from me?
They need to make a wisdom saving throw. So I present my holy symbol and speak a prayer, blah, blah, blah. Anything that can hear me within 30 feet, let's make a wisdom saving throw. If the creature fails its save, it is turned for 1 minute or until it takes any damage. Creature turn must spend its turns trying to move as far away from me as it can. And it can't willingly move within 30 feet of me. It also can't take reactions. For its action, it can only dash, trying to escape. If there's nowhere for it to move, then the creature can use the dodge action.
Excellent. Okay.
And my DC is 14.
Okay. So, as you present your holy symbol with conviction out in front of you, what do we see? What does this look like?
Yabala is going to channel some of the water from my water skin in through an opening, a hole that's in my holy symbol, which is then going to split it into a rushing river, just visually. And this rushing river is going to crash into the undead and wash them away.
Absolutely, man. Take a point of inspiration for that. That's awesome. So this almost phantasmal, radiant tidal wave kind of rolls forth past Rith and past Sigrid without you even feeling anything from it at all. But it crashes into this horde that is breaking through the front door, almost like two waves meeting each other. And as it does so, you see about 4 of these things get caught up in the force from this phantasmal wave, and they are indeed pushed back, almost as if washed away into the street back behind them. And I believe, Noctos, that there's some kind of rule that they might even get destroyed. I don't know if you're high enough level to hit that point yet or not. I think it depends on their CR. But because it's cool, we're going to go ahead and say that it does, in fact, actually destroy them. They are pulled apart almost the way papyrus would be in water if left for too long. But that still leaves an additional 3 that seem to have been either shielded from the radiantness of Yabala's faith, or they simply were able to resist it. That brings us to Rith.
All right. As Noctos and Sigurd both push past Rith to handle the oncoming wave, Rith is going to back up into the room. He's going to try and help Khalid, since Khalid is so badly wounded. I don't know if 30 feet might be able to get me across the room to him where he's at.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I mean, you're just kind of scuttling straight for him.
Yeah, well, backwards until I get into the room and then turn around and finish my move. All right, so Rith's going to get up next to him and then drop his wild shape as a bonus action. And then take a full action to heal up Khalid some hit points.
Excellent.
So let's see, that's, where's my button? 2d8. This is an 8, right? Yeah. So let's see how much. 7. He gets 11 HP.
Fantastic. Well, that's probably better, at least to some degree.
Whoa. That's interesting.
So, yeah, I imagine that Rith kind of scuttles across this room and then almost mid-stride kind of becomes a gnome again. And then, scuttles up the rest of the way as a gnome to deliver this this natural healing that he lays
Don't
upon.
scuttle.
What's that?
Gnomes don't scuttle.
Gnomes don't scuttle? Well, all right. That sounds like a t-shirt. Let's do it. So you put some healing on Khalid, and that brings us back to Khalid's turn. So this hatchling has agreed, at least tentatively, to maybe help you out. So what would you like to do now?
So Khalid, after being healed by Rith, would give him a grim nod of thanks, just as best as he can given the situation, and then just look back towards the hatchling. I'll just say, well, whether or not you fight is of no concern to me. We'd appreciate the help, but we have work to do regardless. He would turn away from the hatchling and just leave it be to its own devices, begin to go towards the hallway that these creatures are coming in through.
Okay. Yeah, you can absolutely reach the hallway. You may not be able to actually reach the three that are remaining standing in the doorway at the moment, but you can definitely reach the hallway where you can see them.
Yeah, and as the three creatures that are left, these undead monstrosities, begin to move forward, he's just going to ready himself to avoid attacks, hoping that his bloody condition will draw them to him, or he can outwit them with his evasion. I'm going to take the dodge action.
Excellent. Great way to describe that. All right. So while Khalid readies himself several paces behind where Sigrid is also readied, we have come back to Sigrid's turn. So is there anything that you would like to do since they have not closed with you as of yet?
We can see 3.
Correct. You get the feeling that there's probably more movement outside, but as of right now, the immediate threat is 3 of them.
Then I think Secret is going to go ahead and close with the ones that are there.
Okay, so you stride forward, bringing your flail, is it?
1.
Okay, you wield a flail, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, you stalk forward, flail kind of already spinning above your head. Let's see what you can do.
I got a 19 for attack.
That will definitely hit.
Six damage.
6 points of damage?
Yes.
Okay. So these things are minions. So that means they have 1 hit point. If you touch them, they go down. Area of effect spells and things like that work is a little bit different, but we'll get into that if we have to later. So as you bring your flail down upon this kind of dry, shriveled husk of a humanoid, what does it look like?
As Sigrid arcs her flail overhead, when the ball comes in contact with the top of the undead, it kind of just crumbles, kind of like paper. There isn't much of an impact, and she's a little bit taken aback with how dry these things are as opposed to the actual crunch that you would normally feel against solid bone and muscle.
definitely. And you've encountered similar creatures before in this city. The ones that were servants of the Baklan people who had run amok in the marketplace some weeks ago now. And similarly, whenever you destroyed them, there's a sudden puff of dust from this incredibly dry individual. And in order to try to avoid it, you're going to need to make a dexterity saving throw, if you would, please.
12, 1, 13.
Okay, 13 is not quite good enough.
Does that also apply as a paladin?
Oh, yes. Well, this first initial part probably would not. There is
No?
a secondary effect to this that absolutely it would apply to. You're talking about where you're immune to disease?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would absolutely apply to the secondary effect of this. But this initial effect, as you get a lung full of this dust, your next action is going to have to be spent coughing. You're kind of too overcome with this disgusting stuff. Okay, but that is definitely one out of the picture. I believe you have a bonus action, and if you would like to, with your shield, you have the chance of striking at one of them, I think.
Yeah, we'll try and knock one back.
All right. And I think it's an athletics check from you, if I'm not mistaken.
15.
Yeah, and that is definitely overpowering for him. So the second one that you collide with your shield stumbles back down the stairs, the sandstone stairs that are outside of this orphanage, and it kind of falls back into the street. So that just leaves one in the doorway. And it is their turn. So that one singular one who's in the doorway, Sigrid, turns its kind of pale white eyes at you and opens its mouth with these inexplicably long, sharp teeth. And it kind of leans in close to you and just goes, I need you to make a Constitution save, please.
Got a natural 20.
Fantastic. You managed to resist as you can almost feel a part of your soul almost being pulled through your pores. Something about it, though, perhaps because you're a faithful of a paladin or of a god, something about it, you shrug it off. You don't succumb to it. So, Noctos, it is now your turn.
Noctis starts gathering the water that came out of his water skin to go put it back. But he sees Khalid heading his direction. So he'll push it forth from instead of going back into the bag, and bring it over to Khalid and kind of wipe it across his forehead. And it'll pour down his body and then seep into the cuts that are still bleeding. And you will gain another 9 hit points.
Excellent. Okay. Is there anything positioning-wise that Noctos wishes to do, or bonus action, or anything like that?
No, he's just going to stand between Khalid and
Okay.
the undead. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you're kind of in the doorway to the room. as of right now. So that was Noctos. That brings us to Rith.
How long is this hallway from the door to where the horde was at?
Only about 15 feet.
Only about 15 feet. So I should be able to get within 10 feet range of the last one?
Oh, yeah, easily.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Then I'll go ahead and use my... I'll position... Rith's going to position himself and use a poison spray from the maximum distance of 10 feet.
Excellent. Okay. Is that a to hit or is it a saving throw?
Say again?
Do you roll it to hit with the spell, or do I need to make a saving throw for you?
Oh, the creature has to succeed on Constitution saving throw.
Okay, excellent. And what is your DC?
14.
Okay, so he rolled a 13,
Mhm.
and lucky for you, his Constitution modifier is a 0. So he failed by 1 point. So what happens to him? Again, they're minions, so
Yeah.
this
I don't
will
even have
kill
to
him.
die. Well, depending on how much damage it does. Okay, yeah, well, that's going to kill him no matter what. So, I'm not sure if these things breathe. I mean, this is the one that tried to absorb Sigurd's soul, correct?
It is, yes.
So as he makes that sound, he inhales instead a breath of poisonous gas that, because he is an organic creature, it fills what's left of his lungs, and being undead and probably having holes in the decaying lungs, it's going to spread throughout his body and just rot him from the inside out until he collapses onto the ground in front of Sigurd.
Absolutely. He falls kind of into like a small, like, dry pile, and then the wind kind of carries pieces of him away. So, for the moment, although it may be brief, it looks like the front door is clear. And that brings us back to the top of the round with Khalid.
So with the hallway clear, Khalid is just going to position himself up next to the door. At this point, looking much healthier than he did before, thanks to his companions healing him. He's just going to try to keep watch as best as he can. So if his companions either need to wait and try to do something before they try to figure out where they're going, they can do so. And if any creatures approach, he's going to be ready to attack.
Excellent. And Sigrid.
She's gonna take up stance close to the door as well. But I imagine if she is still having troubles breathing, she's probably not going to get as close, lest her coughing or any of that mess attract any more attention that they already haven't attracted. I had a quick question about the javelin, though.
Yes.
It says that its attack range is 30 or 120 at range.
Mm-hmm.
So when it says at 30, does that mean you can attack in melee range from that distance?
Not quite. So you can use it to attack melee, but the weapon can be thrown up to 30 feet away with your normal attack, and then between 30 to 120 feet away with disadvantage.
Okay.
Just kind of like a Hail Mary throw.
Okay, then I'm going to ignore that. Never mind that.
So from your vantage point in the front door of this orphanage, though you kind of take a half step back or what have you to cough and try to do so at least semi-discreetly, you can definitely see that the ones that were the one that you pushed down the stairs, as well as others kind of in the neighborhood, if you will, are taking notice of the noise that has been going down at the orphanage and are starting to make their way your direction, some of which do so on all fours, like you can see in the picture. That brings us to Noctos.
Noctos is going to make his way to the opening of the hole. And do we understand what this is and how it works and whatnot?
You can roll a perception check if you'd like. I would say perception or arcana, either one.
Would be a 10 perception.
Okay. So when you round the corner into this opening, you see this hatchling is loading up valuables with his mouth. He's just scooping up coin and gems and dumping them into the containers that are inside. So he's filling oil lamps and serving pitchers and things with the valuables, just almost kind of humming to himself.
But I don't understand how the doorway works.
No.
Okay.
See nothing unusual that you haven't seen already.
Then I'm just going to leave him kind of to it. And I'll head back to go help defend Sigrid and tell her we need to make our way to the temple. Probably the faster the better. And I'll ready in action.
Okay.
He said if anything closes, I'm going to attack.
All right. And last but not least is Rith.
While everybody is, what the heck? Okay. While everybody is taking a moment to catch their breath from the last battle, Rith's already planning the next move. Wow.
It's contagious.
Yes, it is contagious. Thanks, Aubrey. Thanks, Jeremy. So Noctos and Sigurd are heading towards the opening to the orphanage. Correct?
Yes, the opening right now is pretty well congested between Sigurd and Noctos.
Okay. Well, Ritz's going to take the moment to remind everybody that he, hey, I am carrying that Haratapi that we got off of that cultist member way back when, and I have the gemstones. If we want quick transit instead of fighting our way through the city, I can make it into a flying creature that can carry all of us, minus the flying hatchling, of course, to the temple, and we could just avoid the horde entirely.
Then what are you waiting for? Do it.
Do I have a clear path and some room outside?
We'll make the room.
Okay, if you can do that, I can get us to the temple. No time flat.
Then if I can trigger my ready action to push out to start clearing that area, I would do so.
Excellent. Okay. So yeah, Noctos, and if you wish, Sigrid and Khalid as well, the three of you can kind of push down the front steps of this orphanage out into the immediate area, a small kind of intersection in front of the orphanage, where there is a collection of these things starting to knot up and close in from several different directions at once. So the intention then is, for now, to just leave the hatchling and the treasure where it is. Is that correct?
I was going to yell back at him, but...
Okay.
Dragon, if you're coming, come now. We must get you back to your mother.
we're going to leave all this treasure?
It won't be going anywhere. It's protected by the dead.
And what about this container?
Bring it if you must.
Make me do all the work. Okay. So, as you push out into the area right outside of the orphanage, Khalid, you are the quickest to respond to this throng that is starting to kind of press in. So what would you like to do?
So as Rith has kind of laid out this plan of using his item to create this flying thing that they can ride, his primary goal is to make sure that happens. He's going to take up post next to Rith as Rith works on that. And just if any creatures go to approach towards them, then he's going to defend. But he's not going to go out into the crowds since there's so many of them.
Okay. So do me a favor, if you would, and roll a d4.
That is a 1 on a d4.
Okay, so tell me how you dispatch the one that breaks free from the front of the crowd and closes with you.
Yeah, as it sprints towards Khalid, it goes to grab at him with its hands, try to wrap its hands around him. He ducks underneath the reach and coming just back up, just dagger in hand, just slides it right up across this thing just from belly to neck, just cutting up a huge hole in its paper thin chest, just kind of tossing the body aside as it kind of crumbles into dust.
Absolutely. And Sigrid, if you would also give me a d4 roll.
Got a 1.
Okay. And the one that has pressed its advance, would you let me know how Sigrid kills it?
As it tries to break through the door, she quickly pulls up her shield and with a couple steps forward, the shield now horizontal, rams it forward into the center of this undead, and it kind of just snaps in half.
Absolutely. And they continue to rush in, trying to take swipes at you. And as the two front runners, if you will, or the three front runners, the three of you are going to basically lose 10% of your hit points, your total hit points, as they rush forward and nick and claw at you before Rith is able to do it what he is willing to do. So as that's happening, Noctos, would you give me a d4 roll, please?
I also rolled a 1.
All right, all of you Babe Ruths, go ahead and tell me the additional 1 that you take out, Noctos. What does that look like?
Since we're trying to clear an area, he actually starts wielding his halberd a little unconventionally, and grabs it from the very end of the pommel and starts swinging it overhead to either force them back or take out any of them that he can hit, cleaving one of them in half.
Absolutely. And as all of this is kind of going on around Rith, you have managed to come down the stairs of the orphanage, produce the the magical item, the amulet that you got before. And what are you going to do with it?
Rith is staying a little bit behind the crowd, but being aware of his surroundings, so none of the undead happen to get behind him. As he pulls out the Haratapi, he also reaches into a bag filled with gemstones that Noctos handed him a few weeks back that he hasn't used yet. And he fumbles around a little bit and pulls out a small diamond, maybe fits in the palm of his hand, and feeds it to this amulet. I'm assuming we're walking outside at this point.
Yes. Yeah, you guys are right outside the orphanage.
Okay. Yeah, we had to be outside. So as he walks outside, he feeds this diamond to the Haratapi and then tosses it out in front of him, and it hits the ground and does nothing at first. And then it wobbles in the sand and starts to expand and grow larger and larger and larger until it is about the size of, let's see, what is a huge size item? Like a small sailing vessel, a dinghy, if you will. It's about the size of a small dinghy, and clearly we could fit all four of us up on top of it. Red's going to take the front because it is his device. So Red's going to begin climbing up on top, just behind the head area.
You get on the head of that dinghy.
Did it on purpose.
Trevor, you may take a point of inspiration.
I'm full up.
Well, never mind.
What can I do with 4 points? By the way.
Nothing at once. You can spend them 4 different times.
Okay, I might start doing that then.
Would be a good idea.
So, Red's gonna mount the dinghy.
So, yes, this bejeweled, beetle-shaped amulet. It is kind of jewel encrusted and golden. You toss it out into the sand, and it immediately grows into a much larger version of itself as its shell kind of splits down the middle and folds open like hinges, and these beautiful iridescent, almost jewel-like themselves wings extend out away from this thing and begin starting to flap up and down. So about this time, the hatchling comes flying from the front door, carrying what looks like a large black silk robe in its mouth, and kind of flies out the door and immediately starts trying to gain altitude, but keeping an eye on where you are near the ground. So, Khalid, if you would please, roll me another d4 and describe how you take out that many more of these unleashed as you make your way to this beetle, if that's the intention.
All right, that is the intention, and that is a 4 on the die. So just as these swarms continue just to kind of pile in around them, he just begins kind of making his way, just dancing through them as they charge, just like as one rushes towards him, just a quick spin, stabbing it through the skull, kind of sending it into a pile. The next 2 charge at him. He does a somersault between them, letting them collide into each other before jumping up and attacking them as they untangle themselves from each other. And as one last one charges towards him, he just runs straight through it, just with a kick, just jumping in, kicking it in the head, just crumpling it as well, just sending these things just flying and falling in his wake as he makes his way towards this beetle creature.
And as Khalid kind of leaps on to the safety of the back of this large magical transport, Sigrid, if you would do the same, please. Roll a d4 and then narrate how your escape looks.
Got a 3. And in a very stark contrast to Khalid, nothing graceful happening, with a she backhands a flail into the head of one before just taking kind of a running start forward and barreling into two with her shield, knocking them to the ground before stepping one at a time, also on their heads, crushing them to dust, and just kind of slides up and over onto the back of the beetle.
Yeah, almost like sliding across the hood of a sports car. I like it. Have a point of inspiration, Sammy. That was a perfect description of a Sigrid moment. Okay, so the undead, the unleashed, kind of press in from all sides still, and I would like each of you, if you would please, to go ahead and make another Constitution saving throw for me. Okay. Sigrid, you're good. As are Noctos and Khalid. However, Rith, as you were getting this Haratape item situated, and as it was getting bigger, what you had feared came true. One of them had come up from behind and got close enough to inhale sharply, and you take 7 points of damage, necrotic. And you feel ill, but not ill like a traditional sickness. Like something is just not right in you. But it'll have to wait. As Noctos, the last of you, makes his way to this magical jewel-encrusted beetle. So, Michael, if you would go ahead and roll me a d4 and narrate this.
I rolled a 2. So Noctos goes back to a more traditional fighting style, and he slices horizontally across the now wall of undead, catching one of them right across the neck, which causes the puff of gas to come out. Seeing that gas coming towards him, he falls back, also noticing that everybody else is on this bug. And he begins to run to climb aboard the beetle. As he does, he notices this undead that is sucking the life essence out of Rith. And as he's climbing onto the beetle with the reach of his halberd, he bashes that one across the face and boards the beetle.
And the beetle immediately begins to lift off of the ground. And as it does so, Rith, would you please roll me your d4 and tell me how you take out a couple more as you're taking off?
That's a 3. What can Rith do? Let me look at my spells and just flail some things out there. I am carrying a scimitar. Nah, I use my quarterstaff. I use my focus this time. I never use it. So, as we're taking off on the ground, 3 of the unleashed try to scuttle up onto the side of the beetle. And Rith had his share of scuttling for the day, so he pulls out his quarterstaff and he's starting to just get off, shoo, taking baseball swings and pushing them off like the handle of a broom. As the Haratapi takes off without the unleashed on board.
And they crash in from all sides like water when a pebble has fallen into the surface. They collide with one another. Dust and the shatter of bone being all that kind of is left behind as you take off. And as this jeweled beetle kind of flies across Messhiba, heading towards your destination, and somewhat in tow, this blue hatchling follows. Jeff, having been from this very city, would you please describe a few of the things that you come across, that you fly low over the top of, seen overrun with this plague?
So as they fly through the city, heading towards the temple district, the first thing that they would see is this huge wide road that seems to just cut straight through the center of this area. At one point must have been a very busy bazaar. See stands of all different kinds where food and different crafts and creations were made, things that have sold. But at this point, it's just eerily quiet. There's just pieces of food and crafts just strewn about the road, and the only thing inhabiting this once busy marketplace is just these hordes of these undead creatures just scrambling lifelessly in any direction that they can.
And as you fly over these streets that were once crowded with a different kind of throng, different kind of atmosphere, what goes through Khalid's mind as he sees all of this?
So it wouldn't be reflected on his face, not that anyone can really see it right now anyways, but in his mind he feels a strange discomfort about this.
Oh no, did you freeze? Did he freeze for the rest of you?
Yeah, it looks like it.
It's terrible.
Oh, he's back.
I can see him moving again.
Strange discomfort is where it...
Okay, I
Can
think
you
we
guys hear me now?
Yeah.
That was weird. I could hear you guys the whole time, but apparently it wasn't coming through for some reason. Yeah, Khalid would have a strange discomfort. You know, he grew up in Messhiba. He spent most of his life in Messhiba, but he never really liked it. There's a lot about the city that he disliked. But for some reason, even though he has no real emotional ties to this place, something about seeing this marketplace that he was very familiar with as a child, stealing for food, just trying to survive. Something about that memory kind of creates this uncomfortable feeling in him, that seeing his old city, even one that he despised, and in such just compare him off. And he kind of has this confused emotion in him, wondering why he cares so much about this place that he hates, seeing it like this.
And Khalid, who is the one individual that you recognize that drives this point home?
He would see a man, hardly a man anymore, just one of these husks. And given the state of these creatures, it would almost be impossible to tell their identity from just their current form. But one of them has this shirt on, and it has this weird symbol. It almost would be hard to tell that it was a symbol if you weren't a part of the group that symbol represented. It's almost just a mess of slashes. that seem in seemingly random positions, but it's a very specific marking that Khalid recognizes. And this would pin him as one of the members of Khalid's old brotherhood, the order that he grew up in Messhiba, the ones that taught him to fight. And he was hardly even given the current shape, somebody who he grew everything that he knows now.
Oh no. So apparently the undead plague is actually just Jeff's internet provider.
Yeah.
So yes, this individual with this marking that shows him as a member of Khalid's brotherhood, you're able to see this individual. Oh, okay, he's back. So pick up where you left off. You recognized him as a member of this brotherhood.
Yeah, I was just saying that it's the brotherhood that basically taught him everything that he knows about surviving, about fighting, everything. But he can hardly even tell which one of them it would be, given how disfigured they are by this plague. But it's clearly somebody that he would have grown up with and spent hours, days, months, years with, just trying to keep each other alive, and keep going despite all the hardships that they endured.
Exactly. So take a point of inspiration. And as Haritape, this bejeweled flying beetle, passes this bazaar in favor of a destination somewhat closer to the temple, what is another area that we fly over?
The next place. Oh, sorry.
I think it was to you, because he was asking for 2 spots. But
Yeah, whomever wishes to go can do so.
Oh, someone else can do one if they want. Yeah, Michael, if you have one, go ahead.
I honestly didn't have anything yet. I was just going to start talking and see where it took me, but go ahead.
Fair enough. So the next place that they would see as they continue to fly over the top of the city would, to everyone else, look completely inconspicuous. It would just look like a grouping of just like apartment-style buildings, just these kind of clumped rooms together in these clearly a worse for wear part of the city. Even before everything that's happened here, you could see it that it would be probably of a lower quality area. And it would look like nothing in particular to everybody else. But Khalid would immediately recognize that this place, underneath this set of buildings, is a set of tunnels, not unlike the smugglers' tunnels that they went through earlier. And his mind would kind of flash back to him and a group of probably 9 or 10 other people. And in this flashback, Khalid would have the same shirt with the same markings as the husk that he saw walking the streets earlier, though it's in much better shape given the circumstances. And everyone in the room has the same clothing on. And one of them is talking about the next job that they need to do, and how it's going to be tomorrow night, and that this one has the biggest payoff of any that they've ever had. And while it's unconventional for the target to be a child, that's going to be their mark. And this scene, he doesn't know why it's that scene that goes through his head, but that just appears as he remembers flying over what to everybody else would just be a group of living quarters, but to him would be the location of his old hideout.
And as you leave this seemingly ghetto, this slum, and Harutape kind of banks to the left a bit, you see what you were looking for. You see just ahead the Temple of Nerul, a grand sandstone building, not unlike most of what makes up the city of Messhiba. But this one is decorated with the kind of motifs that you would expect from a god such as Nerul. The beings shown prostrating themselves on a knee outside leading to the front doors, as well as the guardians that stand on either side, gigantic, larger-than-life statues, bear the faces of human skulls, as well as more adornment than most of the populace can afford to wear. Fires still burn outside in braziers that may be magically lit. This is the Temple of Nerul, where you have been trying to get to ever since arriving here in Messhiba. And as you begin trying to look for a safe place to land, you realize that though they are not swarming the building itself, they seem to stay clear of the front door. There is a large section of them near the front door that have been re-killed, that are cut down and are not getting back up and moving around like their counterparts are. But you do not see anybody that may have caused this to happen. So as you have found your destination, what is the approach?
Seeing as how Rith is in control of this flying vessel, for lack of a better term, we circle the building looking for a somewhat safe place to land, but it is surrounded by the Unleashed, and there is no discernible safe area. Would there happen to be an entrance from the roof that we could spot from here?
It does not look like it. Though the roof is definitely stable looking and solid, it doesn't really look like it's necessarily set up to be defendable.
I mean, would we be able to spot like an entrance out onto the rooftop or something?
No, it doesn't look like it's ever, like, it doesn't look like anybody ever has a reason to go up on top.
Okay. So there's only the front entrance?
There are a secondary and third entrance, but they're one man sized door, like a normal sized door. Okay. And they are definitely closed.
Okay. The only option is to land as close to the front as we can. The closer the better, because we'll have more time to get inside and less time to be swarmed. So wherever the closest clear space is.
So yeah, the section that I described of the Unleashed that had been slain is probably the at the moment at least the most clear spot to land.
After discerning where we should land, Rith starts bringing the Haratapi down in a smooth descent and we hover for a moment just before the door, and then it touches down, and everybody, I'm assuming everybody just climbs off. Straightforward. And then the Haratapi shrinks itself back down to the amulet size as it was before. Rith picks it up off the ground, and he pulls out his length of hempen rope and cuts off enough to tie it around the Haratapi, and then fashion it into a necklace that he puts around his neck.
Absolutely. So, as the other three of you have disembarked, what is the immediate plan?
I'm going to follow Sigurd's go.
Well, Sigurd's kind of a front door kind of person.
Not what I heard.
Wow.
Insert dingy joke here.
Good Lord.
Let's see. We need to find that priestess. What's her name?
Hamet?
Yes.
Or Odiri? Hamet Odiri.
That's what he said.
Y'all know these temples. Where is she most likely to be located?
You were the one that had seen her in your vision. Where was she in the vision?
A chamber. It looks like some kind of ritual chamber.
I would speculate.
Could I roll a knowledge religion? Just temple layout kind of thing to see which direction I thought that might be in?
Yes, absolutely. And actually, being Mahan, therefore being somewhat familiar with general Baklan architecture, you can have advantage on the roll.
The advantage got me a natural 20.
Fantastic. So you've probably been in a temple, though it was much older, obviously, as the Mahan are used to demolishing.
It was buried in the sands.
Yep. Though it was much, much older, the layout was identical to this one. And one of the spaces that was not yet collapsed whenever your tribe had moved in, you know where the head priest or priestess's chamber is located within this building.
So Noctos is following Sigurd through the front door, but as soon as we step foot inside, he'll pause, look about, and say, "I've been here before. Not here, but a temple of old in the desert. The priestess chambers is this way. Follow me."
Sigurd would follow right on his heel.
So as the four of you start to press into this temple of Nerul, the echoes of the gnawing unleashed outside kind of drift to you on the wind, but none of them make an appearance. None of them crosses the threshold, though they had started to move in on you the longer that you dallied outside. They do not cross the threshold of the door. And as you're kind of passing through this first antechamber, this entryway to this temple, a voice kind of rings out in the stone, polished stone room. Is that Khalid? Khalid, is it you?
And Khalid's face would turn to one of shock. He was not expecting to see people who could speak here, nonetheless know him by name. You see where this coming from?
As of right now, it's kind of a disembodied voice, more echoes from the polished stone of the room.
And he would pause for a moment, kind of stunned and surprised for a good 5 or 10 seconds before just, who's there? How do you know who I am?
An dark figure steps from the shadows, lithe and sinewy. Khalid, you know this individual as the Ink of Messhiba. This was one of the highest ranking members of your organization. A very, very talented and well-known individual. You also know his real name to be Kamemwe. He kind of departs from the shadows and slinks forward just enough so that you can make out his form against the blackness of the room. I thought it might be you.
It's been a long time. I see, of course, you of all people here would manage to be so far unscathed. You always had a talent for leaving people weaker than you to their fates.
Indeed. It is how one in our business gets ahead. The only reason that I have not killed you yet is because that there is no one left here to pay me to do it.
Of course, there's nothing in it for you right now. You all know that's the primary directive. You act so you can get paid. That buys you another day.
There is no other way.
Of course. So, what brings the Ink of Messhiba to the temple, hiding away from the hordes?
I am attempting to find my way free of this city. But I do find it odd, Khalid, that you have stumbled your way back into the city. Especially now, amid all of this. And it begs the question, why?
A lot has happened since I left. The struggle in Messhiba now is greater than simple survival, hunting down one lord for another's wallet. Now we face bigger threats and bigger consequences, and hopefully bigger rewards should we somehow succeed. You can believe it or not, I know you've always been a skeptic, but some of my friends here have seen visions, supposedly from their gods, instructing them of dangers that lurk in the temple ones that may be tied to the events in the city. We seek to end them.
He kind of chuckles. Go ahead, Mike.
Them and Sinrufus. He is reborn.
He kind of chuckles. And he says, Sinruferes, followers of the gods. Khalid, I did not take one such as yourself to believe in faith. Are you developing a conscience?
I have no faith except for the faith I put in myself. But, well, you and I share the same skepticism for faith. These men and women here are valuable fighters, and that I know you judge as being worthy.
If it has gotten you this far, then I suppose there is some merit to it. Very well. Our paths have crossed once, and I will let you go. As I said, there is no sport, no coin in it for me. But should our paths cross again, Khalid, my blade may burn you down, simply out of principle.
Yes, you always did have a tough time dealing with deserters, I guess is the word that you would use. I would use others. It's not important. Just be wary. I'm not the man that you knew when I left Messhiba. Our paths cross. We'll let our skills decide who the victor will be. You may just be surprised.
Perhaps. And if what you say is true, and you are not the same man who shirked his responsibilities and fled, then perhaps there is hope for you yet. A hope that our paths do not cross again. To all of you who travel with this man, be careful where you place your trust. If you stand with him the next time that we meet, my answer is the same for all of you. But for now, good luck. And he backs up into the shadows again.
And Khalid just stands, his face contorted into a deep frown as this figure vanishes back into the shadows. And it would be a rare thing to see Khalid hesitate to speak his mind or to act. But in spite of that, he would basically just be frozen, staring at the same shadowy spot that this person just backed up into.
It's going to change the subject momentarily and ask, where's the hatchling that was supposed to be following us?
The dragon's will is strong. I assume it does what it wishes.
Yeah, the dragon would have, been following you to this point and flitting about outside. It probably would have followed you in.
Oh, there it is. Right there.
Rick looks over his shoulder. Oh, damn, I'm blind. Never mind.
So, where do you all go from here? What happens next?
Noctis will continue using his memory of this temple to guide them to the priestess chamber. And at one point stopping everyone to examine a particular tile that in the old temple was trapped.
Excellent. And you find that it is, in fact, also trapped. And I don't know if there's one of you that would be particularly adept at dealing with this kind of thing or not. Maybe you just kind of stand back and set it off with your pole arm or what have you. But deal with it, you do.
If nobody speaks up, I'll push everybody back to what I believe is a safe distance and trigger it with my pole arm.
Okay. You do so, and there's this kind of gaseous puff of dust, but it's not the kind of dust that you would encounter fighting the undead. You would know in particular that if it is the same kind of trap, that it's a poison that kills slowly and from the inside out, as 2 of the members of your tribe succumbed to it whenever they discovered this trap in the first version of this building that you came across. So, along your way to where the High Priestess's bedchambers should be located, not only did you find this trapped space of the floor, but you also come across, perhaps on the other side of this trapped tile, a room that is used for preparing for rituals. But you find a lot of things that may or may not make a whole lot of sense to the 4 of you, specifically because none of you are followers of May Rule, perhaps. But there are parts of it that are immediately familiar. You find a few vessels, gold-plated bowls and things of that nature, that have dried blood and bits of viscera in it that doesn't take you overly long to realize are likely sustenance in nature. You also find a number of small, familiar-looking canopic jars that you saw once several weeks back, and again whenever you fought the man in the golden robes. In addition, you find wax blocks and the method of boiling it down for sealing these canopic jars, the same color that you found whenever you discovered these sealed jars within the bodies of the undead that had been set upon the population initially. Is there any kind of reaction that the 4 of you have to any of this as you pass through this room?
This room seems to be some sort of preparation. This was not like this in the last temple, I was in. Must be doing something dark. They had been using the suctose for their control, no? What do y'all make of this?
I find it strange that something like this exists in the heart of the city. surely the leadership of Messhiba can't have turned a blind eye to this.
Just as death happens in the shadows, Nehru makes his own shadows, to where sometimes it's hard to see.
So, after a moment discussing kind of what you found in this room, it sounds like you may decide to press on, at least for the time being.
Hey, can you give me a quick reminder about what the deal with the alligator people, the Suptos, like what they were doing with them?
The Supnos they had members of their village that were disappearing.
Yeah.
And they would find them essentially gutted with their organs and entrails removed.
And in session 1, we had found like a dried up.
The undead that you fought in the marketplace.
Yeah.
Inside their body cavities, you found these canopic jars.
That's what it was. Thank you.
That had fresh innards inside of them. You ended up tracking them to the Suknos village, and that's kind of what eventually led you to the cult of the Horned Beetle.
Yeah. Before we leave, I want to check out the inside of one of the canopic jars to see if it's the same. The fresh innards that haven't been preserved or dried or.
None of these seem to have been filled yet.
Okay.
These look like they were, being made ready, if you will. But it looks like the process was abandoned, maybe part of the way through. However, anything that contained innards must have been taken with them.
Are they larger than a typical human canopic jar?
Some of them are. Most of them are probably about the size of a fist. So they're fairly small, but there are some of them that are probably more, I don't know, loaf of bread size.
Okay.
So you press onward from this room deeper into the temple, and you kind of round a corner into an elongated room. It's kind of dotted with lined with pillars, and has a very ornate amount of decoration to it, which looks kind of maybe. Hold, please. You're experiencing technical difficulties. Today. There we go. Looks like that. It does not have the trippy, extra-dimensional portal effect on it that you just saw on my screen. So it is lavishly decorated, highly polished, and in the center there is a well that feeds into this room directly. And as you kind of come into this room from one of the side chambers, you see in the doorway opposite a collection of figures that you recognize as acolytes of this temple. They kind of turn their attention towards you, and one of them says, "What are you doing here?" Speak.
We are here to stop you from bringing back Suferinos, or whatever his name was.
Rufus. They kind of look to one another, for a moment. Then they pull clubs and maces from their belt and begin making their way in your direction.
You have made a poor decision, just like with your ties to your god.
So, we are going to go ahead and take our break at this point. And we'll take about a 10-minute break. We'll come back and we'll get into where this is heading next. So, thank you everybody who may be tuning in. We've had a couple off and on kind of hopping in and out. I appreciate it very, very much. Thank you for anyone who may be tuning in at a later date. Hopefully you guys are having a good time, as well as hopefully the 4 players that I've got with me tonight. And yeah, I mean, we'll be right back. So stay tuned. Alrighty. And back, we've got a couple more minutes that we'll go ahead and wait for everybody to trickle back in before we get started. It sucks that it's only Tuesday. I wish instead that it was Friday. Yeah, Friday would be good. Hopefully everybody out there is having a good week so far. Hopefully nobody stared into the sun during the eclipse, because if you did, well, don't imagine that turned out well for you. Dun, 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 dun. Let's see. Something to pass the time. BrigadeCon. BrigadeCon is coming up November the 4th. Be there or be square. No, seriously, if you don't know what BrigadeCon is, definitely go to brigadecon.org. Check it out. See what's going on. It is a 24-hour online convention where people get together and play games just like this all over the world. And they do it all for charity, which is pretty amazing. It's absolutely 100% free, both to play in a game as well as to run a game. But you can buy t-shirts and you can donate directly if you wish. The cause that they back is a charity called Child's Play, which focuses their attentions to put games and entertainment into the hands of children who are in hospitals and shelters. So it's an incredible cause, one that I cannot recommend enough. And if we can support it by having a good time and playing games, then I mean it's a win-win situation as far as I'm concerned. So coming up November 4th, make sure that you register, find something to play in. If you're feeling kind of brave, find something to run. It's just a bunch of nerds getting together and having a great time, and for a really, really good reason. I'm going to be running a game for it this year. This will be my 3rd year running a game. I also look to be signing up for playing in the game. I don't know which one yet, but the game that I'm going to be running is a Ghostbusters game. So I'm very much looking forward to that. It'll be right on the heels of Halloween, so I think it'll be a lot of fun. But regardless of if you're playing Ghostbusters or not, definitely play BrigadeCon. Looks like we got 2 people back, Sammy and Jeff. Mike, I saw pop in for a minute, and then he disappeared again. We'll just give everybody a couple more. Oh, he's there.
Yeah, I'm back. I had to step away again.
Mike is currently running our home group game campaign of his own called the Shards of Truth. Shards of Hope. Shards of
Hope.
Shards of Hope. Lots and lots of fun so far. Okay, we've got everybody back. Excellent. So if you guys would go ahead and take care of rolling initiatives, we'll get that taken care of in the chat while we kind of get the ball rolling again here. Likewise, Sammy, I left you a message in the chat about Sigrid in speaking the common tongue for this area. Cool. All right, so we've got some acolytes here that look like they're not overly fond of you stepping in up in here. Okay. So we've got, let's see, Noctos and Sigrid. If the two of you would please roll a d6. Okay, cool. Thank you. And then we have Rith. And where's Khalid? Oh, one bit of business that I forgot to touch on that might make some of you kind of happy. The ride that where you were on Haratape's back will have qualified for a short rest. So anything that you gain
Nice.
back. Huh?
I said nice.
Oh, good. Good. So yeah, anything that would regenerate on a short rest, if you wish to spend hit dice, you may do so.
So Sigurd, that shield is gone, so your +2 is gone.
Okay. So these acolytes come charging across the room at you with their weapons drawn. And they're not going to be able to close with you just yet. But they definitely shorten the distance between you. So, Sigrid, you're the first from your group to respond. So what do you do?
How many are there that we can see?
That's a great question. Hang on a second. I think, if I'm not mistaken, there are going to be. Wait a second. Yes, okay. There are 8 of them.
And so, with their closing, would I be able to close?
Yeah, essentially they were further away than you from you than 30 feet, and they basically kind of halved the distance. So if you take your movement to close with them, you'll be in melee range of the front of them.
I don't have a lot that I can do at this point other than just basic attack. Can I have the one extra spell slot from my level up last time?
Yeah, if you leveled and you had not already included that in what you have, you absolutely should have access to it.
Can you show the room again?
Good thing. Hang on a sec.
And could we tell what was in that pool?
From just what you've seen and could smell, it seems to be water. Ding.
Oh, it's dangerous, but I think I'm just gonna close.
Okay. You kind of rush forward to meet them headlong.
And I will attack one.
Okay, absolutely.
I got a 20. To
Yeah,
attack.
that'll absolutely hit him. And then some.
6, 8 damage.
Okay, so what does it look like as you close with the front of this this group of acolytes and take down the first one with your first swing?
With deep breaths to kind of prepare herself, Sigrid just rushes forward, bullheaded, and just starts swinging and manages to make contact with the closest one to her right. And again, along with the head of her flail, this acolyte goes tumbling.
Yeah, and unlike the last several combatants that you've managed to dispatch with this flail, this is not a dry, dusty matter. If there is an opposite to dry and dusty, this would certainly be it. But down this acolyte goes onto the tiled floor, spilling her life essence onto the shiny floor at your feet. And Noctos, not but a split second behind Sigrid, is when you react.
So Noctis will follow the charge of Sigrid, and stop shy, like right behind her, and ready in action for whenever one comes to close with Sigrid. He's going to attack.
Okay. Yeah, there are a couple of them that are within striking range, but you can ready for if an additional one closes or.
Yeah, I want to keep her in front of the line.
Okay, sure.
Also, if he's close enough, all attacks have disadvantage.
Do what now? If Noctos is close enough to you?
Yeah.
I think you can use your reaction to do it once with the shield.
Oh, as a shield master, yeah. You can choose to spend your reaction to impose disadvantage on somebody's attack that's aimed at Noctos.
So were you trying to tell me that more are still closed with Sigrid already?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
gotcha. Then what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to go plug the gap between two of those pillars. So effectively we have a wider wall to defend Khalid and Rith behind us. And with the polearm being long and in that tighter quarters, we're just going to do an overhead swipe and see if I can't come down on the head of one of these ladies.
Yeah, not all of them are female, but they are all similarly dressed to this individual that I've shown here.
And then the attack is going to be at a non-20.
Yes, absolutely. So as this one kind of starts to make her way around the to flank you guys, you manage to kind of cut her off at the pass, if you will.
I'm going to deal 7 points of damage.
Okay.
As she kind of catches it or they kind of catch it with their shield, but the force of it comes down and slices them across the face.
Absolutely. And cuts down deep enough to cause irreparable damage, and she goes down.
I am then going to use my bonus action and my shield master ability, or not shield master, polar master, to then bounce the attack off of the shield and attack with the haft towards someone else, to like a sweeping attack to the knee.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
For a 22.
Would also make contact.
For an additional 4 points to that one.
Okay. That one you'll need to remember, as you probably broke his leg, but he is still in the fight.
And I'm finished.
Excellent. So that brings us to Rith. It is your turn.
Okay, so they're within range of closing, correct?
Closing for melee.
Yes.
Might not be for Rith with his shorter
With 25?
with his shorter movement.
But if I transform into something with 30 feet.
Yes.
Okay. Then Rith's going to begin his descent down the stairs towards the middle of the room. And then in mid-stride, his whole body is going to shift into a giant constrictor snake. But it doesn't look like a typical constrictor snake. It's going to have the head of a... what was that one again?
Cobra?
Cobra, thank you. It's on the tip of my tongue. It's just going to look like a cobra, no special benefits.
Okay.
It's going to slither the rest of the way up to the crowd. And with a reach of 10 feet, I'm going to try a bite on the closest one he can reach.
Yeah, so one of them sees this happen and kind of recoils, kind of turning towards Rith's new form and shouting, "Witchcraft!"
Druidcraft. But, you know.
Yeah. Okay. So go ahead and make your attack.
10 to hit.
That's actually what you need to hit them.
That's surprising.
These are not competent combatants, so
Obviously not.
go ahead and deal your damage, and then we'll figure out where to go from there.
Damage is 13 piercing.
Ooh, all right. And tell me how you kill another one.
Well, being a giant constricting snake that hasn't constricted anything, Rith in the midst of slithering across the room, about the time that he shouts, "Witchcraft! Witchcraft!" A pair of fangs comes down, bam, right on top of his head, and just the weight behind Rith's lunge is enough force to knock him out before the fangs even sink in.
Yeah, you feel the bones of his comparatively frail body collapse beneath the weight of your muscular form.
Tasty. I mean,
And Khalid.
So Khalid will rush to join his friends in the fray, running up and engaging with the nearest one that he can make it to, going in for 2 quick strikes, which is going to be a 23 and a 17, which, assuming the same AC, is both should hit.
Yes, they both absolutely do.
All right, and that will be 5 plus 6 is 11 total damage.
And describe how you take this one out.
As Khalid runs up, the acolyte brings up their shield to defend, but he ducks down low, going in for a slash down at their ankle. As he cuts in, drops the acolyte to their knees, and he comes up, pushing their shield aside as he gets in close, and bringing up his other knife just directly up under her neck and into her head from below as she falls, just ripping the dagger out and casting the body aside. Will prepare. And as he throws the body away, he prepares into a defensive stance with his lightning quick reflexes. And I'm going to use a point of key to use the dodge action in addition to my attacks that I've done.
Okay. So yeah, making yourself extra vigilant in the moment, knowing that there are still a number of combatants remaining, though the quick actions of your group have already halved their number. However, they rush forward still, seemingly fervent on defending their home, and they bring their weapons around to bear. One of them closing with each of you, except for Rith in his current form. They seem to be somewhat avoiding him. Yes, sir.
When they close, my Polar Master can take a reaction to attack.
Okay, we'll get to that in just 1 second because before the one that you injured the knee of, before he actually goes to close with you, the fourth one that was not engaging with Rith is actually casting a spell upon that individual.
Okay.
Doing a cure wounds and removing any of the damage that the other side of your polearm dealt to their leg very quickly as this individual thrusts her hand out kind of near his knee and is kind of, it looks radiant, but at the same time it's awfully dark. Energy kind of flows from her fingertips and over the wound that you just caused to the side of his knee. And you hear the pop and snap of the joints of his ligaments. And his knee goes back into the proper shape. And he looks up at you with menace and charges, now invoking a strike from you because of your adeptness with this polearm.
23.
Will absolutely hit him.
We're 7 points.
All right, and describe how his zealousness was yet another mistake.
So as he starts charging, Noctis just sets the polearm against the ground and pinches it into one of the tiles, and he just runs straight onto the polearm, and he flicks him off onto the ground.
Yeah, you skewer this individual and cast him aside almost haphazardly with great ease. The others, the remaining two that close with Sigrid and Khalid, are both going to bring their attacks to bear.
And that'll be with disadvantage against me from dodging.
Excellent. Thank you for reminding me. What is your armor class, Khalid? Probably higher than what I got.
15.
Yes. And misses you as the acolyte reaches out, kind of letting this club or mace kind of drop to its the kind of leather loop that it has on the end and just hang by its wrist as she reaches her hand out towards you, and you notice her hand for just a moment become almost skeletal. You can see the bones in her fingers and such as she reaches forward towards you, but misses and does not manage to make contact. Sigrid, the one that comes up to attack you, likewise reaches out, and I'm fairly certain that is going to miss you as well. I know you have a pretty decent... Yeah, doesn't come anywhere near you, but you see the same effect that I just described for Jeff. So, with the actions of the acolytes behind, it now becomes Sigrid's turn once again.
We're just gonna attack again. 16.
Yes, absolutely.
And 10.
Another one bites the dust. Grab it.
As the acolyte swings forward and misses, Sigrid just kind of shifts out of the way and swings her shield back around to knock him over and throw him off balance. And as he tumbles to the floor, she arcs her flail overhead one last time and just demolishes his skull.
Absolutely. And though he was already kind of stumbling towards the ground anyways, you help him reach his destination quicker, sending him colliding down into the ground. And yeah, bits and pieces of his skull kind of bounce off of the scales of Rith's body. And Noctos, that brings us to your turn.
As Sigrid is whirling around this this dance of death. Noctos is going to try to stay out of her way and bounces kind of off her shield in the direction of Khalid. And he's going to cast another cure wounds for another 11 points.
Sorry, who was that on?
You.
I'm max health.
Oh yeah, we rested. Sorry.
Yeah, we got a short rest, so I'm
Yeah, I
all
thought
set.
you were still down. So yeah, instead of bouncing off towards Khalid, he's gonna do his own little pirouette and attack the next closest acolyte.
And so probably the one that healed the individual that tried to rush you.
Yeah, perfect. But only a 6.
That, however, is not going to be good enough, and you miss as this one brings its shield up and deflects the attack of your polearm into the nearby pillar.
So having the polearm dig into the pillar like that, Noctos is going to immediately pull it from the pillar, and with his bonus action, jab the end of the other side just directly as like a piercing attack to the chest of the acolyte. And I rolled a 1.
Okay, so I almost see like Noctos kind of rolling between the polearm and where it's stuck in the pillar and kind of using himself as a fulcrum.
Yeah.
To kind of like pull it free. And as he does so, he attempts to kind of try to take a stab at this individual. But when he does, when he pulls it free, a chunk of this sandstone actually comes off. And it's sitting on top of the blade. So it weights it improperly and it just completely throws the attack off. It's just a wide swing. Okay, that brings us to Rith.
Last one, right?
You go, and then it's Khalid. Oh, as far as the bad guys go, there are 2 remaining.
Okay. Okay, well, the one that Noctos is facing off against is currently distracted by dodging a polearm here, there, everywhere, and doesn't notice Rith on the other side striking from above. And I rolled a 14 to hit. And
That's plenty.
the damage 11.
Okay, yeah, and that's another one. So go and describe what this one looks like.
So distracted by Noctis' antics, pulling the polearm from a pillar, and then, you know, the head of it flying over their head, they duck down into Rith's. They duck down below it, but their eyes are focused on the polearm, and before they even realize what's going on, boom, straight into the ground.
Absolutely. And the one acolyte remaining kind of stares, almost like he was going to turn and run. And as he kind of turned to possibly even run away, he sees this gruesome sight as Rith's snake-like form crushes his compatriot. He turns the other way and sees the mess that Sigrid has made upon the floor and turns back around to face Khalid just in time for you to strike.
Yes, so that I've rolled everything already, so that's a 22 and a 15, which I'm assuming both of those will hit, and that will be for 14 total damage.
And as this individual turns around, almost in fright and horror, to find you perhaps maybe a step closer than you were whenever he turned to take stock of the situation just a moment before. How do you end his life?
Well, I imagine almost in like a desperation, a last cry. He goes to swing the mace at Khalid, just trying to hopefully land a blow that will deter his death, at least for a little bit longer. But Khalid easily dodges the strike to Khalid's left. As the arm swings beside him, he just grabs the wrist of this person, and in one quick, cruel motion, knocks him down and slams his arm onto his knee, breaking his elbow. The mace goes falling to the floor. And Khalid's behind him as this person is now fallen with his arm just mangled. And with a quick snap, twists his neck and just breaks it.
And with that, the last of the acolytes in this room is silenced. And you're left in this opulent room, now stained with death. Likely the deaths of the very people who brought it to such a sheen. Where do the four of you head from here?
Is there only the one door?
There are four doors. It's kind of a square room, and there's a door that enters from each side.
Khalid would look to Noctos, given that he's been the one who's known the layout so far, and would look expectantly towards him to provide direction.
So Noctos got an 8 on an insight. So this room with the combat, I've gotten turned around. Which way did we come in from?
Anybody answer him?
We all turned around.
So Noctos is going to look at the direction that Rith hissed in to try to get his bearings. Yes, thank you. I believe it's this way, and then he'll start guiding them deeper into the temple towards the high priestess's chambers.
You do so, and you start, as you work your way deeper into this part of the temple, where the decorations are more lavish. Part of the way that you know that you're in the right place. You start to notice that there's some things that are a little strange. There are implements of ritual and certain relics and things of that nature that you would expect to be seen. You know, you see altars, but they're missing the cloth that would normally lay draped over them, as well as the tapestries that depict the holy symbol of the god. Things of that nature that you've seen in the other parts of the temple, but this part seems to be deliberately packed up.
Would I see that in a light of desecration, or somebody coming in to not necessarily use it for Nehru, but someone else? Or
it's possible that it could have been done by desecration. It's possible that it could have been done through robbery, but it looks more like things were picked and chosen by their value, either sentimentally or just straight economically, that they were simply removed.
With looking around, the items that I notice that are missing, are any of them particularly used for some kind of ritual or like service of some kind?
Absolutely. Yeah, like I said, a lot of the ritualistic implements and relics and things are missing.
But like a specific one, not necessarily just in general.
You can roll a knowledge religion. I don't know how familiar Noctis would necessarily be with the rituals of Nerul.
I would be about a 15.
Okay, so apparently you have some recollection of their rituals and
A
rites.
lot of death happens in the desert. So.
Very true. Yeah, there may even be a sect of followers of Nerul in your tribe, perhaps. So, yeah, there is a couple of particulars that are necessary for rituals, particularly the rite of water, which is how the Baklans enact the act of fremenesis, where they extract the water from a recently deceased corpse.
Can I gain any not insight, but can I gain any like recollection or as to why these particular ones would be missing, or just that it could have been either theft or sentimental?
Well, as of right now, you have seen far less people than you would expect to find in a temple this size, especially the extremely low rank of individuals that you have come across thus far. So this place looks emptied. And your guess is that wherever or whomever was here before and wherever they went, that they probably took these things with them. And a lot of the ritualistic items that are missing, particularly the ones that would be involved in performing the rite of water, well, as far as you are concerned, there's probably only one reason why they would have been removed.
This is disconcerting. A lot of the water rite rituals tools are missing. And of a temple of this size, many of the followers of Nerul are not here. Which makes me believe that they might be up to something. We should hurry.
They have left the temple?
Come again?
They have left the temple.
Perhaps, but I think it's more nefarious than that. They probably are starting some kind of incantation with Cinderufius, with his being born. They potentially might even be taking the water from some of them to give him life. I do not know.
Something was wrong with the acolytes in the room back that we were just in. They didn't, when they got close enough, they were very skeletal. They were not, they didn't seem human anymore.
Probably just a trick of Nerul, but that is disconcerting. Noctis is going to pick up the pace. Want to either try to get to the high priestess area, or if I know of a like a ritual site within the temple of this layout, I would like to go there.
Yeah, there's particularly in a temple of Nerul, there is a large area where the rite of water is performed a lot for funerals and the such. As a matter of fact, Sigrid has probably been to that part of this temple before, although she would have come at it from a different direction. But not far from there is also the head priestess's chambers. She kind of tends to have her chambers, again, being familiar with the layout of the building, kind of above and kind of overlooking this ritual room.
So we'll kind of have to go through the ritual room to get there anyway?
Correct.
Perfect. 2 birds, 1 stone.
So you head into this rather opulent room, the head of which is essentially kind of a, for lack of a better term, kind of a bathtub, kind of rather shallow. You know that they would lay a body in there whenever they began the rite of water, and then draw the water up and out of this person and out of the tub, into which they would collect it into sacred vessels. Some of which you see sitting around, but the way that they are displayed symmetrically, there is one of them that is missing in addition. But as you kind of look up and notice that, you hear a voice come from the place where this priestess's chambers would overlook this room. And the voice is not that of a priestess. As it says, "Why have you come into the house of my mistress?"
Narcos is just going to simply look to see where this voice is coming from.
Above, in one of the, it's not a glass window, it's just a cutout window into this priestess's chambers. There's a rather large, broad-shouldered humanoid shadow standing there. It's difficult to see much detail because of the lighting, but it's evident that this person is armored and is of good size.
I was sent by the wife of Nerul. Seek the heads of the dead.
There is nothing here for the likes of you, follower of Yabala. You should turn and leave with your head still attached to your shoulders.
You're probably right. That is probably what I should do. But that is not what I can do.
So be it. And he turns from the window. Soon, a staircase that kind of feeds down into this ritual chamber. You hear the echoes of footfalls as an individual of substantial size, you're guessing probably this same individual, steps slowly and assuredly down the stairs until you see his frame filling the doorway at the bottom of the staircase, and he enters the room proper with you with a rather large sword drawn. He steps into the light where you can see that he is wrapped much the same as the servants of the Baklans often are, decorated and contained in clean linen as to keep the stench and the somewhat bothersome appearance of his decayed form that lies beneath, hidden from the people who can afford to do so. He brandishes this gold-bladed khopesh and says, "If this is the place that you have chosen to die, come, meet your end, and thus Meet my lord. So, if you would all please, I still have the initiatives from last round. We'll just go ahead and stick with those. Sigrid, that means that you are up first.
How far is he?
Close enough.
Close enough. Good enough. I think for now I am just gonna close and attack again.
Okay. So you charge at this individual, once again raising your trusty flail.
I got a 22 to attack.
That will hit.
And a 6 damage.
Okay. He takes 6 points of damage. Go ahead and remember that. And that brings us to Noctos.
Noctos is going to be a little hesitant. He's going to kind of look around to evaluate what all's in the room. Is it just like the picture?
What you mean? What's behind him?
Yeah.
No, not so much. Like his, I don't know what's going on in that room. But no, I mean it's kind of an opulent, ritualistic room. It's got rows and rows of pew-like seating with an altar at the end, and then it's got these high ceilings and pillars on either side that kind of flank it.
Okay. Yeah, Noctis is gonna then charge with Sigrid, but he is going to try to pass by to get behind him, and as he does so, he is going to sweep his leg, doing a shove attack to try to trip him to the floor.
Okay, excellent.
I'm going to use a point of inspiration. So that will be a 14.
Unfortunately, he beats you with a 19. As you strike at his leg with your pole arm, and it collides with his leg, and though he looks to be a mummy, it's almost like you just hit a pillar of stone.
Oh, and as Noctos kind of dashes past him, he'll then swing around the haft of his halberd with his bonus action to attack with a 17.
17 will just barely connect.
So he swings it kind of like a baseball bat, just catching him right in the swell of the back, and he to the tune of 7 points of damage.
Okay. Remember that. So as Noctos kind of swings around beside him, trying to get into position, Rith, it is your turn.
Rith, still assuming the shape of a giant snake, it's going to slither past everybody and try to flank. That's the word I'm looking for. Try to flank on the other side. Noctis went left around him.
Sure.
So Rith's going to go the opposite side and try to get behind him, so that he might have advantage. Is that good?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure your movement as a snake that size is probably decent.
30 feet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So we're just going to get behind him and attempt to constrict him.
Okay.
Do I
So
roll
is
up?
it just an attack?
Yeah.
Okay.
So is that...
Go ahead and roll it.
Is that with advantage?
Yes.
Okay. Want to be sure. I think a 23 will hit.
It certainly will.
All right. He's going to take 15 bludgeoning damage, and he's grappled.
Okay, so yeah, you wrap your coils around this significant individual and grab a hold of him, and he kind of grunts, his teeth exposed in the front of his mouth, gritting together. Khalid, it is your turn.
So as these snake coils wrap around him, Khalid's just going to dash up quickly, unleashing a full flurry of strikes at this creature. He's not quite sure what to call it. And it's going to be 3 attacks then, using flurry of blows for a mod 20, an 8, which is going to miss, and then a 18.
An 8 is a miss, and an 18 is a hit.
Alrighty, so in that case, that is going to be 15 total damage. As the first attack goes in, striking with the dagger overhead, trying to cut into his shoulder. He goes to swing the second attack, but catching his arm midair, realizes that it would stab one of the coils wrapped around him. He hesitates, and is not able to land that attack. But the last one, he comes in with a sweep underneath the leg with another knife attack. And I'm going to, if they can be combined, I'm going to use one of my flurry of blows, since I can, with my monk tradition, to try to knock him prone. Basically try to sweep him and see if Rith can keep coiled around him as he topples over. He's going to have to make a dex save.
Okay. Dexterity save, and what is the DC for it?
The DC is going to be just 12.
Okay, he got a 19. So, again, you go for one of his legs, but it's like attacking one of the wooden training dummies or something that you've, practiced on hundreds of times. It just doesn't go anywhere. Okay. So, as you all engage and gang up on this individual, he is grunting and kind of reacting in a bizarre way, not flinching from pain, more just reacting to the kinetic energy. His body is kind of being pushed and twisted in different directions as these attacks are all coming in, and he's just taking it. And he kind of turns his face towards the ceiling, and he says, "Nerul, God of all things that once were and are no more, give me your strength and your power to do the bidding of my mistress." He brings this sword to bear. And he's going to strike twice. Both of them are coming at Rith, as his body is coiled tightly about his. The first of which is a devastating strike. Rith, he two-handedly, oh my god, brings this sword down on top of the nearest coil. And from the first strike, you're going to take 26 points of slashing damage as he cuts right in between two of your multitude of ribs, potentially nicking one of your organs on the inside. The second of which is also going to hit. And with this one, you see dark energy swirl down from the ceiling and encase his sword. Oh my God. So from the sword strike itself, you will take a further 13 points of slashing damage. But in addition, he calls down his divine smite. For an additional 9 points of radiant damage. Does Rith still have his form? Yes. Okay, good. So, the coils, though they may have loosened a bit as these enormous gashes open in them, in Rith's elongated body, Rith, for the moment at least, you still have hold of him. Sigrid, it is your turn.
I am going to use Searing Smite. Wait. No, retract that because I don't want to risk setting the thing on fire that Rith is attached to. So we'll just go with my last Divine Smite.
Okay.
Except maybe not, because I got a 14 to hit.
Fortunately, that is not going to be enough, and it glances off of one of his armor pieces.
Good question.
Yes.
Okay. It says under the constrict, though, it says while he's grappled, the creature is restrained. So does that mean that is he grappled or restrained?
Restrained is different than grappled.
Okay, it says both. It says the target is grappled with escape DC 16. Until this grapple ends, the creature is restrained.
Let's see. Okay, so yes, because he is grappled, particularly by your ability, he is restrained.
Okay.
So yeah, restrained is a different condition.
Okay, I should have clarified that then.
Mm-hmm.
Restrained creature speed becomes 0 and cannot benefit from any bonus to speed. Attack rolls against the creature have advantage, and the creature has disadvantage on dexterity saving throws, and the creature attack rolls have disadvantage.
Okay. All right, hang on just a second.
I went and turned it all upside down. Sorry.
Okay, so with an AC of 12, both of those strikes still hit. However, the first one would not have been a critical strike. So you can take 13 points of damage off of what you received during his barrage, as the weight of your body prevented some of the swings from being quite as massive as they otherwise could have been. Okay, so with Sigrid having just swung and glanced off of a part of his armor, Noctos, you're up.
Not even your God can save you now. And Noctos is going to then raise up his halberd to the sky. And if there are water coming off of any of the architecture, like in the picture, he's going to wash it through the water and cast, as a bonus action, Divine Favor. As his weapon starts glowing and moving like it's water, he will attack the tune of a 11.
Go ahead.
Unless he has flanking with Rith. No, Rith grappled. Never mind.
He would not with Rith, but you were moving into position so that you had flanking with Sigrid.
That's
Well, he's restrained, so you have advantage anyways.
Oh, that's true.
touche.
Perfect, Jeff. Thank you.
I rolled lower the second time, so.
So, okay. Once again, just this guy has significant armor about his body, and the curvature of it and the placement of it is just enough to prevent your attack from actually making purchase.
So Noctis starts coming down, and he ends up stopping himself because he thinks he's about to hit Rith, and then he moves to get a better angle for the future.
Excellent. So Noctos swings and tries to find an opening, but just is not managing to do so. And that brings us back to Rith.
Having taken such grievous wounds, Rith has an adrenaline rush and I'll die. And takes a moment to what is it, 98, and that moment allows him to heal up a little bit by expending a spell slot for a whole 2 HP as a bonus action.
Okay, so
You heal right.
yeah, a little bit of you kind of using your shape-shifting energies, if you will, to close some of these wounds. Even just a small amount.
Just enough to keep it from being mortal.
Right, exactly. So that is your bonus action. What would you like to do with your main action?
And then he's going to retaliate with a bite attack on the creature that is restraining. Restraining with advantage. With a 23 to hit.
Yes, absolutely. We'll make contact.
And it is 14 piercing.
So he once again responds to the impact of this bite, and still seems like he's just going to take it, responding in a way that only an undead automaton could. Khalid, you're up.
So before that, we had known that he was restrained. I had rolled my attacks, and they were double nat ones. Thankfully, I have advantage on both of those now, but I still only got an 11 and a 13.
Unfortunately, neither one of those is going to be enough to gain you ground.
As he just tries to find places where he can slide in his daggers, but it's just as you said, there's too much armor and too much snake in the way where there's not really a place that he can effectively attack in between the gaps from how heavy his armor is.
So this mortal dance kind of continues, and you bash at each other, slice at each other, bite at each other. He once again brings this sword about, and This time, he's going to swing only once. And as he does so, you said AC was 12? Okay. And makes contact once again. This time for only 5 points of slashing damage. He wriggles his face back up towards one of these jars and says, "Nerul, I am soon on my way to the afterlife that I was promised. But not yet. Let me bring you sacrifice. Let me bring you more for your army." A dark energy pools from one of these jars nearby, making its way over to him. As he casts Cure Wounds, to the tune of 12 points that he recovers. His wounds begin to knit, though the linens stay torn asunder. And as you see this, him gaining a little bit of traction, Sigrid, it's your moment to act.
Okay. She's going to try for a divine smite again. And it's a 22 to hit, right?
Excellent. Yes, that'll absolutely hit. And you didn't tick one off for your miss earlier, did you? One of your smites?
No, no.
Okay, good. Yeah, because you only have to if you actually do make contact.
Okay. So that is 6, 20 points.
Excellent. So, Sigrid, what does it look like as you finish this Paladin of Nerul's existence?
With another deep breath, she tells him that your God is not the only God with power here, before taking another few running steps forward, careful not to hit Rith, as she slams the pommel of her flail into the side of his head before glowing a bright white light out of the hole and then just slowly dissipating.
And his bandages kind of smolder from this, where this white light had made contact and emanated out from him, almost as if a slow burn. And they peel away and reveal absolutely nothing underneath but bone. As his armor pieces, one by one, loosened by his diminishing form, clatter to the ground. And he roars out, and phase into silence. So, the temple is quiet. The air is still after this combat has concluded, and your foe lays vanquished.
Noctos, being a Mahan, has not decorated his beard as of recently. And he actually has something very similar. If I can get it to focus. Also, probably not. Anyway.
The beard thing?
I'm good. Yeah, like that's all the beard that Noctos has is just the chin beard. Potentially the armor, but he is very interested in replacing his chin beard decoration. And he would also like to know what kind of armor that is.
So for the time being, it sounds like you may want to gather the pieces of his armor, possibly his sword, and take it with you? Or do you wish to try to take a break, rest, or whatnot, and see if you can't figure out what all of it is? What is the timing like as far as the group's pressure goes?
Noctos was kind of in a hurry earlier, so he would not want to stop the group to try to figure anything out. If it does seem sturdier than what he is wearing, he might try to do a quick change. But I mean, if it's heavy armor, that would take forever. So probably just grab it and go.
And Khalid would definitely also take a liking to that Kopesh that he was wielding, that gold-plated blade. And again, similarly, would not take time to study it deeply at this point, considering that they are in kind of a rush, but he would grab that as well and stow it away.
Just start using it. It's fine. No bad ever comes from that. Just do it.
We'll see.
So as you start gathering your plunder from your vanquished foe, the small blue hatchling flies over and drops this black cloth, this what you thought was a silken robe, near Noctos and Khalid as they're sorting through this pile. And he says, "Why don't you use this?"
What good is this robe?
He kind of shakes his head.
It doesn't even look like it would fit.
Dwarves are not smart. He kind of lands nearby and he begins to kind of spread this cloth out flat on the ground. And as he does so, you quickly realize that it's not a robe, that it is instead, I don't know, a tablecloth. It is a large, perfectly circular, shiny black cloth. And the moment that this small blue hatchling finishes stretching it taut, the cloth itself disappears. And in its place, there's a perfectly round opening in the floor. A deep pit.
Noctos is going to kind of look over and down into the pit.
As you walk over to the edge and look down inside of it, you see one of the first things that catches your eye is a pitcher, a valuable-looking serving pitcher that is now tumped over onto its side and has coins and gems spilling out of it. And you recognize very quickly that this is the same treasure that was contained in the offshoot room where you found the blue hatchling as it was in possession of the Mahan in the orphanage.
Ah, dragon, this is handy indeed.
Just as we're clear, you can have your armor and your sword. The rest is mine.
I believe the rest is your mother's.
Well, that may be true. I'm going to ask her. She's not going to let you have it.
I don't intend to ask.
That's smart. She's dangerous when she gets angry.
I'm well aware. Then yeah, we'll just place it in, dump it in, toss it in.
Okay. You scoop up the pieces of armor and put it into the portable hole. And Khalid, you can either keep the blade on you or put it in the hole for now, if you wish.
Yeah, he would look at the pit created by this hole, and then at the dragon, and then like his eyes would wander down to the sword, kind of hesitate for a moment, and then he just puts the blade in, strapping it to his belt and keeping it on his person. He doesn't quite trust this thing.
All right. So the dragon kind of shrugs and turns to the edge of this hole and kind of places its snout along the ground and makes kind of a scooping motion. And as he does so, instantly this circular opening in the floor becomes a wrinkled black cloth once again. So he gathers it back up in his mouth and he kind of says around it, "Shall we?"
Rith looks a bit tired. For anybody who notices.
Is there anywhere left in this temple to look, or have we exhausted all of our options?
You have not yet been to the actual the head priestess's chambers yet.
Through this ritual room, it's the head priestess's chamber. Should be right up this staircase.
So you follow Noctos up the stairs where this undead paladin had descended from. And you find yourself in a rather lavishly decorated bedchamber. And most of the, again, valuables themselves seem to have been packed up or missing. Most notably of which, there is a series of masks against one wall. And you can see where they're meant to sit. You know, there's several pegs, if you will, or armatures that are meant to hold more of these masks than are currently present. And as of right now, there are only 4 of them present. We'll go ahead and say 5. There's 5 in the picture, so. Noctos. Well, actually, all of you, if you would, please roll religion checks for me. Noctos and Khalid, both of you can have advantage in this particular situation. Okay, so Rith has absolutely no clue what these are. Noctos with advantage, likewise, just not something that he's seen enough of to really understand. nor has Khalid, apparently. However, Sigurd, something about these snaps in a memory in your head with what the group was coming to this temple for was the heads of those who serve Nerul. These masks are called death masks. They are worn for the rituals performed by the followers of Nerul, the god of death. And most specifically, and this is probably why you actually might know this, during the Rite of Water, which but a few weeks ago you witnessed the Rite of Water being performed with the funeral of your fellow paladin that whose body you brought home. You may have even seen one of these masks, for that matter. But these masks have a definite aura to them, a definite vibe that they give off, that there is no doubt that these have power imbued within them. What would the four of you like to do?
Having had the not necessarily wasn't a vision, or having been told by Yabala to seek the heads of the dead and find the mask of those who serve her husband, going to assume that these are those masks and go up and grab one.
Which one do you grab?
The one on the bottom right.
Okay. The one that kind of has a almost like a cobra.
Yeah, the one that would allow
Type
my beard to flourish.
Okay. Noctos has stepped forward and claimed a death mask.
And Khalid definitely would have waited, a little hesitant to approach, but seeing Noctos go up and grab one, that would kind of ease his hesitation, and he would follow suit as well, going and grabbing the mask that's the top left.
Okay, so the one that is almost bald on the top?
Yeah, with like the
Yes.
red cloth and the green tattoo looking thing
Okay,
on the left eye.
right here.
Yep,
All right.
that one.
Khalid has likewise stepped forward and chosen a death mask.
Sigrid will step forward and take the top mid.
Okay, so this one here.
The blue.
All right. Sigrid has likewise chosen a death mask. Did the picture go away?
No, it's still there.
Okay, just went away on my screen. It's back.
And then Rith, being last, and still assuming the form of a snake, grabs the top right mask because it most resembles his current form. He grabs it in his maw and then shapeshifts back to Druid so that it is actually sitting on his face.
So he has put it on.
Yes.
Excellent.
Inadvertently, of course.
Inadvertently, yes. So the four of you have chosen each a death mask. And the intention now fulfilled. I just completely had a brain fart. The adventure, the task completed. What is the plan now? Do you intend to try to stay here in the temple? Or do you intend to leave?
If there is an extra mask, I'm going to grab that one as well.
There is.
Since Shabala did ask us to find the masks, plural, I'm just going to make sure that we take them all. Is there any kind of sense that Sinrufnos is in this location?
Not that you have gotten, no. And you have not seen, those of you who had visions of the baby being born or the ritual being prepared would immediately recognize that the architecture here is not the same.
Then we have done what Yabala has sent us here to do. We must go.
And where is it that we'll go?
I believe by the time that we reach where we're going, we will have a sign giving us the next destination. Yabala has not led us astray yet. She will let us know when it is time.
As if on cue, a small drinking vessel on the edge of the desk across the room tips. Water spilling forth from inside and running across the desk and beginning to drip off of the far side.
See, this could even be her now. Noctos is going to catch some of the water in one of the death masks and examine it, but also examine the final destination of where this water is going.
Looking to where the water was dripping while you try to collect it reveals nothing out of the ordinary. But as your eyes kind of drift upwards and you notice where this water is running off the edge of the desk, you notice the side of it where the water is dripping down. The water behaves strangely. More water comes off the edge than is dripping down. And soon you notice that there is a portion of the desk that is carved in relief all along the exterior. But there's a portion of the decorative carving that looks as if it is a secluded panel.
Noctos immediately attempts to depress it. or open the panel, interact with that area.
Okay. If you would please give me sleight of hands if you've got it.
I do not have it.
Okay, then just do a straight dexterity. That's fine.
3.
All right. So you're trying to figure out how to operate this hidden section of this desk, and you finally locate a small place that looks like it's probably a place where you like reach inside with a single finger and pull a latch. And you do so, and as you kind of feel the latch and you depress it, you feel a needle slide into the tip of your finger. You need to make a Constitution saving throw, please. I believe you would have advantage on this being a dwarf.
If it's poison, yeah.
Yes, very much
Good,
so.
because just like a Constitution save, I rolled a 5. So with advantage, it would be 18 into a 22.
Fantastic. Good. You managed to stave off this poison that, had it been someone other than you, they may not have been so lucky. But this is a very, very potent poison.
Would I assume that it was the same poison that had killed my comrades?
The one from the trap downstairs?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No, this is a liquid poison, and it's much deadlier than that. Much faster acting.
Yeah, Noctos is actually going to rip his hand out of the desk and curse. And if he starts seeing an effect taking place, he's going to cut off his finger.
Well, since you're offering that shit up on a platter, yeah, there is absolutely an effect. Yeah, your veins immediately start kind of turning dark and spiderwebbing up the length of your finger.
Yeah, having been in this kind of temple before, he knows exactly what it is. And he'll put his finger on the edge of the table and just immediately chop it off with his halberd.
All right. And the other three of you, how do you respond as Noctos does this?
You know they have healing spells for problems like that, right?
Not for problems like this. And then Noctos is going to faint.
All right. So, as this font of blood emits from the stump where Noctos' finger was just a moment before, he collides to the ground as his halberd skitters away from him, clattering across the floor. He falls unconscious just beside this desk. Do any of you wish to do anything?
I assume there's linen or something around here because Sigurd would
Sure.
immediately look for something to wrap that hand before he bleeds to death.
Absolutely. And also, as a paladin, if you're not out of them, you also do have some healing points, whether or not you wish to.
I could probably spend some for lay on hands. How many would we count for severed finger?
Just 1 point would do it.
Then that's fine. We'll fix this finger that way.
Okay. So maybe in conjunction with some clean linens and your healing magics, you manage to stave off the bleeding. Okay.
Khalid will just kind of give a look over to Noctos, see that he's still breathing, see that the bleeding has stopped, and just kind of like shrug, more or less confused by everything that's happened. And then just realizing that he's probably not dead, we'll just begin to look through the desk where he had pulled the lever, being
Okay.
careful to avoid whatever needle that he had accidentally pricked.
Sure. You managed to find the end of something like a letter opener, or you even have a small weapon of that type that you can fish into the hole and release the lever now, paying no mind to the needle. And in fact, when you hit the lever, a small little section just kind of pops out of this relief. And as you do so, you notice that it's kind of stacked with several small pieces of papyrus. And all of them say kind of essentially the same thing. They all seem to be acknowledgement or like responses to a call for collecting for this ritual to be done. None of them really detail the ritual all that much, but all of them reference a place called the Valley of Dishara, the tombs of Dishara, things of that nature, which refers to a place in Baklan culture that is essentially like the Valley of Kings. It is a large collection of very important tombs that is kind of between Messhiba here in the east and Baklabesh, the old capital, in the west, and then kind of between them and north in the mountains. And with that, we're going to go ahead and stop here. So, thank you guys very, very much once again for playing. I had a blast. It was a lot of fun to figure out kind of the second half of where we left off last time. So, I think before we officially wrap everything up for the night, I will let you guys do any outros that you might have. We'll go ahead and start in the reverse order of the way we did when we came out. And Sammy, that makes you first.
Oh, it's good to be here. Fun as always. All I have to say is that combat was really fun this week, even if I was a little low on spells. But I'm excited to move on to a different location again. It's always great whenever we move somewhere else instead of being in the same dead city, which was great. But I'm ready to move on.
Absolutely. Thank you for playing again, Sammy. I appreciate it. Okay, next up is Jeff.
Yes, I'm Jeff. How any of my games that and some that did counterbalance. Yeah, again, super fun game. I enjoyed it. Glad to be a part of it and see the second half of the city. Did I die again?
You started to. We got you here at the end.
It was at least audible.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, but yeah, that's basically all I had to say. Anyways, it was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to seeing where this is going. I feel like we're starting to get into the meat of the story here, and I'm really interested to see what's going to happen next.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you. Always a pleasure, Jeff, to play with you. I get the opportunity frequently, and it makes me happy. So thank you very much. Another frequent player that I get to play with all the time is Michael.
Hi. Again, my name is Michael. I'm playing Noctis. Yeah, thanks, man. I love that you're always willing to just roll with the punches and figure it out as we go. And you allow us to take liberties that are that make sense, I guess, which is really cool. And you allow us to kind of take control a little bit and insert things into the story, which I love. And yeah, really did not see that coming with the whole finger thing, but was a snap decision that I made, and I'm all about it for it. I'm interested to see how that ends up going.
Excellent. Thank you, man. Yeah, that's one of the great things about being a DM is, you know, kind of rolling with what your players give you, and to turn that away is a huge mistake. You got to learn to take that and kind of roll it into the mix. And you guys give me a lot of really good stuff to go on, so I'm very lucky in that regard. All right, so last but not least, we have Trevor.
Maybe next time Noctis will think twice before fingering that hole. Don't worry, I got his finger. I'll hold on to it for you.
He won't.
This is a lot of fun, that's for sure. More combat than usual, and I feel like we sped the story along a little bit. I mean, we could have fought our way to the temple, but who would do that? Obviously, we flew for 4 hours instead.
Man, that was a great call. That was fantastic.
Yeah. I was like, we could fight our way, but one of us would inevitably die or turn undead. So let's save some heartache. We could have just been wiped. Definitely enjoying this still. Not sure what else I could say. I think that's about it. I'm not good at outros.
We may have lost Jeremy. Potentially.
Yeah, he's frozen on my screen too.
But with a clever look on his face. Oh.
Well, thank you, everybody,
Whoa.
for joining us.
So, just a tip to anybody who may be out there: do not sign out of Gmail while you have a stream going. That's apparently the wrong thing to do.
On my screen, you're beside yourself.
Right? Wow. That made my heart just like stop. So
I was actually starting your outro, so you're good.
I appreciate that. Thanks, Mike, for having my back, man. I appreciate it a lot. So yeah, thank you guys very, very much for playing. Yeah, I'm really excited every time that this campaign rolls around. It's been a lot of fun to kind of explore this culture in this corner of my my homebrew world. It's not one that I've gotten the chance to do a lot of, so I appreciate the opportunity. Not only that, but also the opportunity to run a game for you four. It's always a lot of fun. You guys keep me on my toes, and I like that. So I can't think of anything else. So I guess I will see you guys in about a month. And until then, may your dice roll high and your snacks always be within reach.